Alright, everybody. It's been a little while since I've streamed. It's been a few days, to say the least. It's been a little over a week, actually. Well, I have had videos going up in the meantime because, I've got plenty of segments stocked up for things like this happening. Emergency situations like me getting sick happening. Unfortunately, I was not able to stream for the last week because I caught COVID. Now, thankfully, I feel worlds better now than I did even yesterday, the day before, and certainly the day that I figured out that I had it. I guess I'll give you guys a little bit of background, okay? I am vaxxed and fully boosted. I was not interested in getting COVID. I took pride in having not gotten COVID. I was determined to get through this entire pandemic without getting COVID. That was my goal, and I thought it was very doable considering my lifestyle. I go out and I do stuff, but I'm pretty careful, and I spend a lot of time, working from home, and I don't really go grocery shopping. I get my food delivered, and then, it's just, there were a lot of reasons that I was pretty sure I would be able to avoid COVID, but there was one thing that I left the house to do a few days before, maybe almost a week before I had symptoms and I tested positive, that I think probably did it. I got a haircut. Love the haircut, by the way. It's very nice. Love my haircut, but I got a haircut. And I'm pretty certain that's when I got the vid. Pretty certain that's when I got it. I was wearing a mask, but the mask is more so for infectious people, not to be as infectious, less so for protecting people who aren't infected. I still wore it anyway. Didn't make a difference. Didn't make a difference. Still got sick. Still got COVID. However, a couple days pass. I don't even know that I have it. I feel great. Days are passing. I feel fine. And then Sunday night happens. Me and my mom watched the new episode of The Last of Us. Ironic, huh? We spend the whole day, potting some plants and planting seeds, because she's, doing a garden thing, and I ordered, a bunch of seed packets, and so we're doing some gardening. Very active. Don't feel sick or like garbage at all, right? We feel great. We feel fine. Later that night, all right, I'm eating dinner, okay? I'm eating some ribs. And I take my fork, and I take a nice piece of rib right off the bone, put it in my mouth, and I start chewing. First bite. I'm like, and I swallow. And it feels like I swallowed a piece of bone or hard gristle that just, shredded its way down my throat and esophagus like this. It felt really bad. That's what I thought had happened. I thought I'd just torn up my throat or scratched it, and it hurt. But I had a sore throat. And it wasn't bleeding. There was no blood. There was no, overwhelming pain that made me think I need to go to the hospital or get immediate medical help. But I was pretty pissed off about how my throat was feeling. But the night continued, and I started to feel cold. My throat was obviously sore from that, but I just assumed it was because of the scratching, right? But I started to feel cold. Really, really cold. Not cold enough that a blanket, or not so cold that a blanket, a really thick, fluffy, warm blanket, was not warming me up. And I started to realize, I'm not actually cold. I just feel cold. Now, I've had this thing where occasionally I'll get this overwhelming bone chill shiver out of nowhere, and I just have to, hop in a hot shower, stand in the sun for 10 seconds, and I'll feel better. But this was strong and very overwhelming. So much so that, I couldn't move, and I was stuck in sort of, this shivering, state, right? And so I basically got up and I hobbled myself over to my space heater, and I turned on the space heater to the highest heat and just blasted myself with some nice warm air, while watching TV, right? Mind you, I didn't know I was sick yet, so I wasn't suspecting a flu or a fever. Sorry, I wasn't expecting a fever to hit me. I thought this was just chills and I needed to warm myself up. But it kept going. Every time I would get up and get away from the heat, I would immediately be immobilized by the cold. And it would be overwhelming shivers, bone chills, and physical immobility with the discomfort, okay? And it was very overwhelming. Very overwhelming, like hard to even fight. Muscles tensed up severely. And around this time, my mom starts to feel under the weather. And she looks over at me and says, I think we might have COVID. And I said, you think so? Let me do the breath holding test. Because it's like really early on in COVID, a test you could do is see how long you can hold your breath. If you can't hold your breath for very long, chances are you might have it. So, and my nose was at this point starting to get a little stuffy and runny as well. So it was like, fuck, I might, you know? So I go, and I do the breath holding thing. And I don't run out of breath. I don't run out of breath. I don't, like, feel the need to go or anything like that. I feel fine. I have no issue when it comes to holding my breath, though I now know that a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that I was a swimmer. I managed to keep my blood oxygen at 98 to 100% pretty much the entire time I've been sick. I just got very strong lungs, which is definitely good. It's from swimming in high school for like 6 years, or before and in high school. So that's definitely good. Being vaxxed and boosted also definitely helped. So I have strong lungs and was immunely, like my immune system was to some extent ready, right? Despite that, COVID hit me like a train when I first started to feel the symptoms. Hit me like a goddamn full-speed bullet train, all right? And my mom would be like, hey, get up and go grab... So she tells me, hey, could you get up and go grab the COVID tests? And I'm like, okay, because we had a bunch of them, because, you know, just in case, right? And so I get up from the chair that's sitting by the space heater where I've got my heat, and it's just like, I'm hobbling like a dying old man. I'm hobbling, like hunched over, like in the only position that will allow me some level of muscle comfort and whatnot. And I'm like shivered up like this, like walking through my house with a blanket over my back, walking to the medicine cabinet. I get the COVID tests, and they're the tests where you have the saline packets, and you spray them into like this little tube, and then you get a cotton swab, and you really rub it inside your nostrils on both, like in your sinuses on both sides, stick it into the tube of saline, and then you shake it and squeeze the boogers out of your little swab, and you get the saline solution that has your stuff in there, and you pour it onto what looks like a pregnancy test. 3 droplets onto this little thing, and there's a little display where you have one that says C, like there's a C, and I believe that means control. That's always supposed to light up. If that doesn't fill in, if the C doesn't fill in, you've got a faulty test. That's its like control. The other one I believe is T, and that's the test. And if that lights up, then yeah, you're positive. And that's what I got. My mom did too. And we realized we both had COVID. And it didn't take long after finding out that we'd tested positive for the symptoms to start getting much worse. So it started with the muscle aches, the bone chills, and the runny nose and the sore throat, right? But I wasn't coughing. And I wasn't really getting that much mucus, like, in my throat worth coughing, right? I wasn't getting the cough yet, and I wasn't too brain foggy. I was still there 100%, and, things were still okay. But that first night is when the tightness set in. While I didn't have any phlegm in my chest, and I wasn't coughing, I started to get the chest tightness. It's actually kind of gone away now, but in my chest and in my back and on my sides, I was getting this tightness. And it wasn't even from breathing, it just kind of would happen, right? It really isn't pleasant. It really isn't pleasant, but I dealt with it, and it just kind of slowly got less bad as time went on, and something that really would help is coughing. Like, even if I didn't feel the need to cough, if my lungs started to feel like, if I started to get the tight chest, I would cough, and, phlegm would come up, and that was what, I needed to get done, and it would feel better. So yeah, it's very much not like your normal cold or flu dry cough where your throat's all itchy and you keep going involuntarily because you got a cough. It's very much like my lungs are all phlegmy. I gotta okay, there we go. Now I can breathe a little clearer again. It's one of those kind of respiratory infections. That, for those of you who haven't gotten COVID yet, hopefully that gives you an idea. Like bronchitis, I've never gotten bronchitis before unless I have it now as a symptom of COVID. But this is how bronchitis has been explained to me, yeah. I'm going to break down my timeline, okay? Just because I know some of you guys will probably be curious, and God forbid one of you in chat gets COVID and you're scared and you don't know what to expect, you don't know what's going to happen. I just want to be able to help you out here. I want to be able to maybe make you feel a little more secure, you know, like you're being heard, like you're being felt. So I initially tested positive on the 5th. So we need 4 blocks here. The reason why I've made this block so short is because it was into the evening, like late into the day on Sunday, that I found out that I had COVID. So this is Sunday the 5th, Monday the 6th, Tuesday the 7th. Oh, geez, my math is bad. Here, Wednesday, the 8th, and then I forgot because we're only a little bit into today. I had to add this one as well. My bad. There we go. And then Thursday, the 9th. All right. I want to give you guys an understanding of what COVID was like for me as a vaxxed and boosted person. With a who's young, 23 years old, and has a relatively healthy lifestyle, but especially when it came to my lungs back, like, not too relatively long ago, very healthy lifestyle when it came to lungs. Like, pretty damn athletic, healthy lungs, right? So, that's my basic layout. I vape, there's that, and I vape weed and nicotine, so there's that as well. So that's something that would weaken my lungs and decrease my chances of doing well, so yeah. You're 23, would have guessed closer to 26. No, I am 23. I turned 23 back in July. So night 1, or day 1, of my COVID, I had sore throat, I had bone chills, fever, and runny nose. Those are the big symptoms I had on day 1. Sore throat, bone chills, fever, and a runny nose. Like stuffed and runny, you know what I mean. It goes between runny and stuffed, basically at a whim, right? Next, we have day 2. I vomited. I start coughing. The chest tightness really begins, and it gets, like, really hard to, like, just breathe and relax and chill out, and I start getting the fatigue. The fatigue sets in, right? I vomited on Monday. My coughing started to get kind of bad. My chest started to get really tight, and that persisted till literally last night. The fatigue continued, which could persist to this point. I am very fatigued right now, but I don't care. I push through. So, Tuesday. Tuesday is when things started to get better. Like I actually started to feel better, you know? However, some new symptoms came along that I wasn't too happy about, all right? Weakness. Like, obviously, the chills are just kind of still there and kind of recurred again. I didn't have as many on Monday, but I got chills again on Tuesday, and they were kind of bad. Fever was still a thing, and the really big one that hit on Tuesday that fucked me up. Acid reflux. Holy shit. Listen, normally when I am sick, every time I've ever been sick, the best thing to help me with it has always been a big old greasy Five Guys burger and fries. When I have a flu or the cold, that's what I eat, and it damn near fucking cures me. It is my go-to fucking healing food, all right? Part of it's probably because I love it so much. So I did that. Adults in the chat who have to deal with acid reflux know exactly what occurred because of that decision. I'd never had heartburn or acid reflux before. I really hadn't. I thought I'd known what heartburn was. I thought it was like when you eat hot food or something and it hurts on its way down. It burns. No. It's when your stomach starts to like boil up stomach acid into your esophagus and it burns. Not fun. That is a COVID symptom. It upsets your stomach and it causes acid reflux and vomiting. Not fantastic. Not enjoyable. Not great. Not great at all. So if you think that like COVID is some like flu where it's like, oh, I'm going to be coughing and I'm going to feel like garbage, but at least I'll still be able to just kind of lay in bed and eat my favorite food and treat myself. No, you don't get to eat your favorite food. Every meal you eat is going to cause acid reflux, possibly, and it's going to be miserable. And you're going to feel like your esophagus is on fire from the acid reflux and the heartburn that it's going to cause. I recommend taking some antacid tablets. I took some sodium chloride, I think it is. A very common, like, basic antacid. Just, it's basic chewable I took, and it really does help. But yeah, the acid reflux is killer. Were your taste buds affected? I heard that's common too. No, I did not get the taste buds or loss of smell symptom. I guess the most loss of smell that I got would just be from congestion in my nose, but I just blasted some Afrin up in those puppies and they opened up good. Like, listen, I did have the congestion, but I've been using Afrin, just spraying a couple spritz up into each nostril, and those fuckers open up. Doesn't matter how sick I am. My nostrils clear. I breathe easy. Take an omeprazole. It's good for acid reflux. I feel like the stuff that I'm taking now is absolutely fine. I feel like it's getting the job done. I just take it after I have a meal if it's acid refluxy and it goes away in seconds. Listen, Zan, COVID can lead to erectile dysfunctions. The most important thing for us to know is, can you still get bricked up? Oh, I was actually worried. I'm glad you brought this up. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to jack off with COVID. Good. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to jack off with COVID because, from my understanding, getting your heart rate up while you have COVID can cause can cause heart damage, right? And so it can be kind of a problem, you know? So I definitely try to keep it down to a minimum with COVID, but I can guarantee that there has not been any erectile dysfunction from having COVID. So that's definitely good. Why the fuck do we watch this, man? You guys asked. You guys were the ones asking about whether or not COVID causes erectile dysfunction. I'm sure it does in some people, but thankfully not in me. Wednesday. Let's move on to Wednesday. Day 8. So this is yesterday. I'm just going to add acid reflux. Fuck you. That should basically get the point across. Does that make sense? That acid reflux was the MVP symptom of day 8. Or of the 8th, of Wednesday, yesterday. Absolutely. And especially into the evening, the chest tightness and muscle aches. Holy fuck. Yesterday was just acid reflux, chest tightness, obviously coughing. I don't know why I didn't add coughing, but I was coughing because the chest tightness and muscle aches. Like, it was so bad that, like, the combination of all these things was working so badly against me. My back was fucking killing me, and I just wanted to be able to do this. And do that satisfying... Oh, that felt great. I just did it now, and it felt great. Do that satisfying twisty pop that I can do, but I couldn't do it, because my lungs would start to like... My chest would tighten up, and my lungs would sting when I do it. And so my back was aching and hurting, and like everything was tight and sore and in pain, and I couldn't get enough range of motion to actually like loosen myself up at all. Not even in the hot shower I couldn't get enough range of motion to help myself out. And then of course we have today, and my symptoms today are as follows: very light acid reflux. It'll do. very light acid reflux. Like, I don't have it now. My esophagus doesn't even hurt right now. And yeah, very minor chest and back tightness. That's just my lungs telling me I need to get the phlegm out. That's why I keep coughing. So I just cough the tightness away. And finally, fatigue and brain fog. These are the only remaining symptoms that I have left. That's pretty much it. Just acid reflux, very little, like not much. Some back tightness and chest tightness, and fatigue and brain fog. That is pretty much all that I have left. But I'm not just here to provide you guys with my story and a pity party as to what I experienced. I want to provide you guys with some advice that helped me on each day of my COVID ordeal, okay? So, day one, what really helped out, and I know you're not going to want to have to do this, but it is the go-to, all right? Ice cold shower. Your body, when the fevers, bone chills, and muscle aches start setting in, your body's going to make you want to huddle up under a bunch of blankets next to a space heater, or take a ridiculously scathing, like scalding hot shower. That is what your body's going to want to make you do. Do not listen to it. Your body is lying to you. You are actually running a fever of over 100 degrees, most likely. I have a thermometer right over there that I would be using roughly every few minutes. Every time that my temperature broke 100 degrees, I realized, all right, gotta break the fever. So I'd hop in the shower and turn it all the way to the coldest setting, and just blast myself over the head with it. It goes down my hair, over my face, down my neck and back, over my entire body. Just full on let the high pressure ice cold water go over me. Now I take relatively cold showers. Like the way that I shower is I start with warm or hot water, and then I finish my shower off with like cold water, like cool water, to like trap moisture in my skin and like prevent hair damage. And there's a lot of reasons why you should finish up your shower with colder water. I don't usually freeze myself with it, right? This time it was miserable, it was painful, and it sucked, but only for like 10 seconds. It's 10 seconds of torture, and then the fever just suddenly breaks and you start being normally cold. Like you're not irrationally painfully cold anymore. You just suddenly, oh wait, I just have ice water going over me now. And you can just flip it right back over to warm water, warm yourself up to a more comfortable temperature so you're not uncomfortable, but not too hot, and then turn the water off, dry yourself off, and the fever will be broken. You won't be shivering, the bone aches will be better, the muscle aches will be better. I promise you, it's torture for 10 seconds. But if you get COVID, or frankly any fever that's giving you those insane bone shivers that are making you want to huddle into something warm, and like it's unreasonably cold for like where you are, what temperature it is, and what you're wearing and everything, the ice cold shower is the best way. You have to break the fever. It can be very bad for you physically if you do not break the fever. Another thing that helped, and I'm actually going to go ahead and after this segment grab another one. Gatorade / water. I've been drinking ridiculous amounts of water and Gatorade. Basically, and I'm not kidding here, trying to ensure that I guess this is part 2, piss as much as possible. Your body filters out a lot of COVID through your kidneys, and it exits your body mostly from peeing. So yeah, when you have COVID, drinking as much water and fluids and peeing as much as you can really helps to like get the COVID out of your body. Gatorade also helps you restore electrolytes and a lot of other vitamins that you become deficient in when fighting an infection. Another one is vitamin gummies, specifically zinc and iron. If you can get some vitamin gummies with a good portion of zinc and iron, this is going to help you a lot, because your immune system is using a whole lot of zinc and iron to like power it. Like your immune system is fighting COVID and using a lot of that, and it's taking those stores away from a lot of other parts of your body. And And it's going to make you suffer in other ways that you can't even think of. A lot of COVID symptoms don't even come from COVID doing it to you. It comes from your body having to divert so many resources to fight COVID. That's a big part of what the acid reflux is. Your body doesn't have enough zinc to produce the stomach acid it needs to, and you get acid reflux from not having high enough acidity in your stomach from like the zinc going to your cells for fighting COVID. That's been my understanding of the research on COVID-caused acid reflux. Finally, the last one is sunlight. If you can go out in the sun and just sit like in the sun for just a little bit, it really, really helps. At least in my case, it did. Like a little bit of like vitamin D from the sun, and like just the general being in the sun, just being outside, fresh air, sunlight, birds chirping, grass and leaves blowing in the wind, just that in general helps. The final thing is morale. COVID kills people by wearing them down to exhaustion physically and emotionally, okay? That is how people die from COVID. It literally exhausts their body to death, essentially, right? And a lot of what can help you keep yourself going is resolve. Like, sit on the couch with, if you're sick with somebody else, sit on the couch together and watch some funny fucking, like, rewatch a funny sitcom that you've seen a million times already. Some comfort shows that are funny, that keeps your mood up. Don't watch like depressing or don't watch depressing content. I found myself watching too much like really like hardcore depressing type of content, like political stuff, while sick, and it made my symptoms worse. Put your mind in a positive setting and try to distract yourself from your settings or from your symptoms in a more positive way, and trust me, you'll feel better. You'll feel better. Yeah. Anyway, those are the big pieces of advice that I have. I'm sure there's some other stuff that I'll think of after I end the segment, because I can't think of everything, right? However, that is pretty much all. Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. Of course I almost forgot one of the most important thing. Fucking anti-acid chewables. And also Afrin nasal spray. Or just phenylephrine, like non-Afrin brand phenylephrine nasal spray. The chemical is phenylephrine. Phenylephrine or phenylephrine? And it's sold by a bunch of different brands, but Afrin's the most popular. It's what I use. And then some anti-acid chewables. I believe, what's the exact type of chewable that I'm gonna go grab the exact chewables that I use, just because, why not? Here are the antacids that I use. They're Equate, and they're just basic chewables. They are calcium carbonate, 750 milligrams of calcium carbonate, 60 chewable tablets. These things go hard. Just chew it up in your mouth. You don't even swallow it. It dissolves in your mouth, and the juice like actively goes down your esophagus into your stomach and just chills it out. Just chills it out. Orange Gatorade? Hell yeah. I like orange juice. And orange Gatorade kind of tastes like orange juice. So yeah, it's my favorite flavor of Gatorade is the orange one. Sponsored by Walmart? What here is sponsored by Walmart? I buy a lot of stuff from there, but Anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. You want to drink a lot of Gatorade and water in general. Keep your fluids up. And you also want to take anti-acid chewables as soon as possible when you start getting acid reflux. Listen to me. If you get COVID, or you ever get acid reflux, like GERD or some shit like that, as soon as it starts, get a fucking antacid. The longer you ignore it and let your stomach bubble stomach acid up into your esophagus, the more damage it does. The more it'll hurt, and the longer you have to wait before it stops hurting. This is very sincere advice I'm giving you all. Don't delay when it comes to something like that. Like, acid reflux needs to be managed very quickly, or it's going to cause you some problems. This tastes like candy. It's like candy for boomers who have digestive problems after they eat, like every adult tends to have. I hate growing up. I really do hate being an adult. Xan is giving uncle advice right now. Real. Alright, with all that said, hopefully you got some insight into my sickness and my experience with COVID. You know, I think I've basically won. I think I pretty much kicked its ass. It's been 5 days, and I pretty much kicked its ass. I'd say that's pretty reasonable. I've heard a lot of similar cases in which people who are vaxxed and fully boosted only are sick for around 5 days or so. I want to let you guys know, please, get vaccinated and stay boosted. Do not put it off. It is not worth getting COVID. Like, it is not just a bad flu. I had mild COVID. I had what is called mild COVID, and it is still, I want to say, the sickest I've ever been in my life. I want to say it's probably the sickest I've ever been in my life, but I think I've probably had a worse, like, really bad stomach, like, parasite once when I was, like, 6, that I remember, like, damn near fucking killing me. Like, I remember laying in bed under a pile of ice packs, having, like, some sort of stomach flu as like, a 6-year-old or something. So, it wasn't as bad as that, but definitely at least second worst sickness, like, bout of sickness I've ever dealt with in my life, symptom-wise. And that's with being vaccinated and boosted. And, on top of all of that, I'm a healthy, young dude whose only comorbidity for, like, COVID fucking me up is, like, I'm a little underweight because my body fat percentage is really low right now, and I vape. It is not just a cold. Some people, it won't hit them as hard. But most people who get COVID, like, the mild COVID, is not just a cold. It's rough, bro. Get vaccinated. For no other reason than you might still get COVID. Even if you don't get vaccine boosted, well, especially if you don't get vaccine boosted, you'll probably get COVID. But even if you think COVID's not a big deal, trust me, it is. And being vaccine boosted also helps minimize the symptoms, in my experience, and in a lot of the cases we've seen. People tend to have it for less time, get over it faster, and their symptoms don't tend to be as bad. And that's the case for me as well. So yeah. Hopefully this helped you. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, you all know what to do. And thank you for watching.